In this video, we're going to do a little bit of review and we're going to add some things to what we know about ordering information. I'm going to change this. Right now, I'm getting out 19,972 rows when I run this statement. Let's just get a small subset of that. So we're going to learn about a top n query. And n is a number. I can say top, and then the n comes, I give it a number. Let's do the top 10. We hear about top 10 lists all the time. What are the top 10 songs played on pop radio today? The top 10 songs on public radio. That's the top 10 persons from our person table. Let's get those, and it only returns 10 results. Okay. Now, what determines the top 10? Well, what the first 10 things that come back from the query we read. Okay. In this case, it looks like they're being ordered by their business entity ID, even though we didn't specify anything. So by default, it's going to use the primary key. We see a lot in this database about business entity ID. Almost every, I shouldn't say every table, but a lot of the tables have this thing called business entity ID, and we use that column for a lot of foreign keys and primary key relationships. So when we go into doing joins in this bigger database, you'll see us using that one a lot. But let's sort this a different way. Let's order by last name and then first name. So when you do a top 10, you usually have an order by statement linked in with it. So now we're seeing a lot of different business entity IDs. We're sorting by the last name. So it gives us the first 10 names alphabetically. First 10 names alphabetically by last name and then first name. So there's some Abercrombies here. They all happen to be Kim. Last name and first name. All right, what if we do last name, but we do it descending? Okay, let's run it again. This time we get descending order on our last names, but it starts with the Z's instead. Okay, and it gets the last 10 names alphabetically. So order by, a lot of times we use it with numbers and rankings. Always know when you're doing a top n query, and n can be any number. We could do 5 if we wanted to, and it would get 5 names. When you're doing a top n query, this makes a difference, ascending or descending. Okay. Sometimes people forget about that, and they can't figure out how to get a different top or bottom of a list. Okay, and it's all determined by ascending or descending on your sort order. All right, the next thing we're going to do is do the top 10 again. We'll do it ascending because that's how we normally do names, as alphabetically. What if I want the next 10 names? Well, top 10 no longer works. Let's just do first name and last name. Top 10 no longer works. So now we're going to learn about something called offset and fetch. The first thing I'm going to do is offset by 0. So we're recreating a top 10 query using offset and fetch now. So instead of top 10, I'm going to say order by, I'm going to say offset by 0, and I'm going to say offset by 0 rows, fetch the next 10 rows. Only. All right. And you see we get the same thing. The first 10 names, and I got rid of the star so we don't see all the extra stuff, the asterisk. but we're still getting a top 10. This is still a top n because I have the offset at 0. So I get the first 10 names alphabetically. What if I want the second 10 names? Well, I can offset by 10 rows and get the next 10 rows. And that gives me Ackerman, Adams, 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 Adams. Let's offset by 20 rows. So I got a lot of Adams in here. Wow. Go up to 50. $70. How many Adams do we have in here? Doing something wrong? Okay, I finally got out of them. So offset determines how many names do we skip. So it's going to order them by last name. This is going to skip the first 100 rows and then give me the next 10 rows. Or maybe I want to skip the first 100 and give me 20 rows. Okay. So where is something like this used? Think about your Google results. When you Google whatever term you're going to Google, the first page that comes up shows you the top 10 results. But then you hit the next button. And when you hit the next button, it gives you the second set of 10 results. So it offsets by 10 and gives you 10 more. And every time you hit next, it increases the offset and gives you the next however many rows that you're getting out of Google. So offset and fetch are used all the time, especially for things like that. That's called pagination. You're breaking up your result sets into pages. So you can use that in an application. A web application like Google does it all the time.